Get ready, get set, and hold on. It's going to be one heck of a ride. Good morning, and welcome to the Mouth of Matuszak show. I'm your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and this is our show for today, Thursday, August 14th, 2014. That's 8/14/14. Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to winding down of the week. Yesterday was hump day. We tried to bring the show to a little bit of a high peak, kind of poking some fun at some things, but we still had some serious issues going on, so it kind of was a mix. But as y'all know, the work week is starting to wind down, so today is the day to try to get as many of those things tied up, those tasks completed, those loose ends, kind of taken care of as you start to wind down the work week. Because as many as you can get done and accomplish today, that's less that you have to do tomorrow to get ready for the weekend. And of course, the weekend is the time to enjoy the fruits of your labors, whether that be hanging around the house that you paid for or are paying for through your efforts, or using some of your income to go and enjoy family outings, or just to relax, or whatever you decide to do with your time off that you've earned and the income that you've earned. It's also, the weekend is a good time if you're into any kind of a hobby that involves creating or craft work or building things. It's a good time to go and accomplish those things, because the more you can accomplish, the more you can build, the more you can do to accomplish something and look at it and say, I built that, I did that, the better you feel about yourself. And it doesn't matter what anybody else sees in that. What matters is that you yourself can look back and have that sense of accomplishment and that sense of improving. So, go out and do some of that this weekend, too. It's good for the soul and good for the good old self-esteem for those people that need a little bit of a buildup of that. But the bottom line is, whatever you're going to do, enjoy doing it, during your time off. Most Americans do not necessarily enjoy what they do for a living, but they do it. They do it as well as they can, and it normally provides them with a means to, pay the bills and then have a little bit left over to, again, enjoy the fruits of your labors. So that fruits of that labors means you're going to go and do work in something that you would classify as a hobby. So be it. Enjoy it. You earned it. Just don't go doing anything stupid. Bungee jumping, taking proper safety precautions, that could be enjoyable. It's a little bit risky, but hey, it can be fun, and it's usually safe, especially if you're doing it with somebody who knows what they're doing, kind of running that kind of activity. Now, going and bungee jumping on your own, using one of those skinny little rubber bands you use to tie stuff down on the top of your car, and forgetting to even affix it to your belt and not knowing how to properly tie a Swiss seat or whatever kind of harness you're going to use, and jumping off of a bridge with a very shallow water and a lot of rocks underneath it, probably not so smart. You might enjoy it all the way until... But anyway. Trying to make light of something that's maybe not the lightest of topics there. But we still have stuff going on. The Congress may be on recess. That doesn't mean that they should all be on vacation. I'm sure they deserve some time off too. They've done some work, I guess. But right now, during the recess, they're supposed to be going out and talking with the population and finding out what's going on back in their constituent areas, and back in their states and their congressional districts. So that's what their job is supposed to be right now, doing that and then starting to draft bills accordingly. What they are doing might be something completely different. So go and check out town halls, or if you live in an area like I do, your congressman may not be doing any town halls within a reasonable travel distance. Yeah, so some of us have had to go outside of our own congressional district to kind of look at some town halls recently or other sort of activities like that. And I'll get more onto that later because I went and attended something last night and it was very interesting, enlightening, and enjoyable, for me anyway, experience. That notwithstanding, keep your eyes on what your congressmen are doing, but also we have to keep our eyes on what Obama's doing because he's on vacation. But somehow he's still claiming he's working, and I guess he's rushing back to the White House for this weekend, and then he's going to go back and continue his vacation with Martha's Vineyard. So there goes all your tax dollars. You can't pick a vacation location or a retreat location where they have stuff set up in case something goes down that he can go and handle business and then go back to relaxing afterwards. No, he's got to go and burn all those fossil fuels that create those so-called greenhouse gases that he despises so much. He's got to go and burn all those up in a jet and go back and pay for his entire security detail to fly with him, and then go and do whatever he's going to do, and then fly back to Martha's Vineyard and blow it all again. So let's consider that, and also let's consider the fact that right now somebody was out there, and I have to relook who because I barely caught it when I was going and looking for more legitimate type news stories to do my show prep this morning and kind of find out what happened overnight. But somebody did a tally, and I'd have to look it up and find out exactly where it sits. But it either said that Obama has already passed Tiger Woods' time on the golf course this year, or he's edging up closer and may tie him soon. It's one or the other, but that's a lot of golfing being done by somebody who's supposed to be handling this country's business and being the chief executive officer of the corporation known as the United States of America. Oh no, here it goes. Everybody's going to say that I said the United States of America is one giant corporation. No, we're not. We're free individuals. If we were one giant corporation, we'd be China. And thank the powers that be that our founding fathers did not set that up, and the governmental system that they did set up has lasted this long, and we didn't devolve into that kind of a society, at least not yet, the way China did under Mao. But yeah, time to, just because they're not sitting in Washington doing their arguing on the floor and C-SPAN isn't covering the floor debates or the committee meetings doesn't mean you should be keeping an eye on your legislators. In fact, they should be in your backyard. Not literally, although they may be. Who knows? Have you checked on your dog recently? Anyway, they should be, right there in your home district, or in their home district, near your home, where you can keep a better eye on them, a more direct eye, instead of just looking online and seeing what C-SPAN lets you see. So, time to take a look and see what they're doing. Oh no, something weird happened with our usual clip there. I was about to play good old Eleanor's little statement there, but evidently we had a little glitch. As happens once in a while in live radio, things don't always go by plan, but that's okay. We're prepared to go forward because everybody by now who regularly listens to the show knows that I play the clip from Representative Eleanor Norton. But for those of you who have not heard the clip I normally play, she actually said in a committee meeting that the U.S. citizens do not have a right to know what the government's doing, because we have what she termed a separation of powers government, and it's just such a ridiculous line. But we had a momentary glitch in playing that. But this being the day that it is, this being Thursday, the fact that I tried to bring stuff light and happy to start the show yesterday, I wish I'd had access to this. I didn't know it was out there, but I found it. Folks, this is going to be about 12 minutes long, so I want you to kind of pay attention here. Somebody compiled a list of what they titled 65 lies stated by President Obama. Now, some of them are the same lie repeated multiple times, so I think it counts as a little bit off. But you'll hear dings when something said is the truth, and a buzz when something was determined by the creator of this video that I took the audio clip from was a lie. So let's see if this will play. If not, then we'll just move on to other stories. Okay, folks. It seems that my clip player isn't wanting to be so nice today. The irony is, before each show, I play the clips in the player, and they play. But sometimes when we go live, they want to not cooperate 100%. But that's all right, folks. This is Thursday. It's towards the end of the week. We're a little bit more flexible. Things we're not gonna let things upset us so much. News of some importance recently. For those of you who may not have been paying attention, there's a little suburb of St. Louis called Ferguson, Missouri. And in Ferguson, Missouri, on Sunday night, or Sunday, I think that was the date. I may have to go and double check exactly when that happened. But a young man, a teenage boy, was shot by a police officer. That is about all we know as far as facts go. We know he was shot and he died of his wounds. And that immediately sparked outrage and some racial directed violence, or racial-based violence. And a couple of days ago when I talked about this, I likened it to the lunacy behind the race riots that were sparked by the assassination of Martin Luther King. I mean, there you have a great man, Dr. King, Reverend King, talking about peace and unity and race not mattering. The only race that should matter is the human race, and all those good things, and coming together to talk out our differences and figure out how we can do things that are beneficial to all and each person equally and individually, regardless. And also talking about equality of opportunity, not outcome, but opportunity. And a really great man in his message, and he gets assassinated. And what do a bunch of people do? Well, they go and riot and do the exact opposite of what his message was advocating. So they did the exact opposite and claimed it was because he was assassinated, and they had to, go and demonstrate how blah, 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 blah. Okay, Martin Luther King was assassinated. Bad thing. Rioting because you're upset that some jackass, some murderer killed him. Going out and rioting and stealing from your neighbor and destroying property. Worse. Because that was worse than two wrongs don't make a right. That was, thousands of wrongs trying to right a wrong. It doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. It set the whole movement back when that happened. Well, in Ferguson, this young boy got murdered, or shot, I won't say murdered. He got shot by the police officer in a police shooting. We don't know all the details. We just know that he was not armed, to the best of our knowledge, not armed with any form of a weapon. At least that when the other responders arrived on scene, he had no weapon, and the police officer shot him. That's what we knew as facts at the time. Well, the police chief there still refuses to release the name of the officer because of numerous death threats made against him. And look, if the police officer did do something wrong, let due process go forward. Let due process do its job. When you go and do street justice, that's not true justice. That's mob rule, and that's not what our country's about. So they should just, the reason that they're not releasing the name is because if he is deemed subject to a criminal trial, well, then he has the rights of the accused. So you have due process that has to be followed. And if he's murdered because of people going off emotionally without knowing all the facts, then that doesn't serve justice. It's just a further injustice. Well, evidently, the riots have continued now for 4 days. They're very much racially motivated for some reason. It shouldn't be. But further news has now been released by the police officers that the one officer who shot the boy, was severely beaten. And it looks like it possibly could have been that either young Michael Brown or his friend had physically assaulted the officer, and the officer may have had to shoot in self-defense. Maybe. We don't know. There's evidence that says that that's a possibility. So, I wasn't there. I didn't see it, and you probably weren't there, and you didn't see it either. But these are just the facts that are known. You know, there is that possibility. We don't know. Now, what kind of idiot goes up and assaults a police officer? I don't know. I kind of like, my mentality is, I don't want them to bother me, so I'm not going to bother them. You know, they're kind of like bees. You know, leave them alone, and hopefully they'll leave you alone. At least that's my mentality. Now, sometimes some of them, they're individual people. They're putting their pants on just like you and I do. They're good to walk up and talk to. I talked to a couple last night, and I've talked to a couple over the past week, just in friendly conversations. Had a great conversation about how the issued tasers work with one, and if they were legal for me to purchase one. Really liked the answers I received from that one. I was even told where to get one at a discount. Anyway, going on with the Ferguson story. So now that I've given you a little bit of background and a little bit of an update on those facts. There were 2 reporters arrested because they were following their First Amendment rights and was interfering with police activities. They were in a McDonald's, folks, doing their job, kind of talking about what was going on, sharing information back and forth so they can generate their stories. And one of the writers from the Washington Post, good old WAPO, who we all love, and you know, our favorite paper, the Washington Post, right there with the New York Times and other ones, Salon.com. But anyway, Washington Post had a journalist there who was doing some real journalism, so we can all give a big clap for that one. And so did the Huffington Post, another one of our favorites. They had a journalist there doing the same thing. They were there doing their jobs as journalists, and they were trying to get the on-the-ground truth to the people. Well, the police, according to Wesley Lowery, he's the well, actually, of course, Mark Berman, who wrote Wesley Lowery's story, kind of interviewed his fellow reporter here. But Wesley Lowery, Washington Post reporter, was arrested last night for sitting in McDonald's and recording the riots and the police actions that are taken to quell the riots, and in some cases a little bit overboard. But the police came in, and the story is over at the Washington Post, so if you may want to go and read it. He and the other reporters were basically told to disperse, and Lowery was reporting the situation, you know, in and around St. Louis and in the Ferguson area. And, well, the police left, then they came back a little bit later and demanded that all the reporters leave and get out of town, and Lowery started filming the whole incident with the cops there in the McDonald's. And then he was told to go through one door, and when he walked through, his bag came off his shoulder. When his bag fell off his shoulder, the officers arrested him because he dropped his bag by accident, I guess. At least that's the story that they're displaying here. So go ahead and read the account of what happened. Now, I may not be the biggest fan of who he writes for, but this is a reporter, this is a journalist actually trying to do good journalism, and it's a case where his First Amendment freedom of the press is being restricted, and actually landing him in jail just for doing what the Constitution says he's allowed to do. So, go ahead and, like I said, this is an actual Washington Post article. I'll post it when I do up the podcast. Those of you on Twitter have probably seen this tweeted out already by several other people.